Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Tornado Talk. We're here at Dugan's Pub, 29 West French Broad Street in Brevard, North Carolina, every Monday night, 7 p.m. Hope you can join us here at Dugan's. Want to thank our sponsors, Arby's, Zaxby's, Holiday Inn Express, Hampton Inn, Ingalls, Mission Sports Medicine, Comporium, Pepsi, and Dugan's Pub, the home of Tornado Talk. Before we get started with our guest tonight, do want to catch you up on what you've missed around Brevard College Tornadoes athletics. And first, some breaking news. 3 USA South Conference Player of the Week awards handed out to Tornadoes this afternoon. Men's Lacrosse Player of the Week, Jackson McCaig. Men's Tennis Player of the Week, Tom Mittring. And for the second time this season, Men's Tennis Rookie of the Week, Tyler Frazee. So congratulations to Jackson McCaig, Tom Mittring, and Tyler Frazee, men's lacrosse and men's tennis, winning some more USA South Conference Player of the Week honors. 19 USA South weekly honors have been garnered by Brevard College Tornado student athletes this year. Since we saw you last, baseball, they had a 3-game series at Pfeiffer. Lost all 3 games of the series, 4-1, 9-2. But then Sunday, a heartbreaking 6-5 walk-off defeat at Pfeiffer. Starting pitcher Cross Robinson, who was a guest on the show last week, he allowed just 2 runs on 6 hits, 5 strikeouts, 2 RBI performance by J.J. Wilkes, but a tough loss at Pfeiffer. Next up for the Tornadoes baseball team, BC versus Greensboro. This Saturday and Sunday at Gilcone Field. The Saturday game at 3 p.m. Sunday doubleheader starts at noon. Softball lost the doubleheader at Maryville last Wednesday, but then won a doubleheader 11-2 and 5-3 over the weekend. Mari Cook with a 2-run go-ahead home run in game number 2 of that doubleheader. Michaela McCoy, the winning pitcher both games. She did not allow an earned run over 11 innings pitched against Agnes Scott. Next up for BC softball, Wednesday of this week, a doubleheader versus Converse, 2 and 4 p.m. at Ives Lamel Family Field. And then Saturday, doubleheader versus Covenant, 1 and 3 p.m. at Ives Lamel Family Field. Men's lacrosse, 17-16 loss at William Peace, a hard-fought 1-goal defeat. Hewitt Farr scored 6 goals. Jackson McCaig, we mentioned him earlier, USA South Player of the Week. He had 3 goals, 4 assists. Sam Duffy, 3 goals and assists. And Robert Kokel grabbed a game-high 14 ground balls defensively. Next up for the Tornadoes men's lacrosse team, Wednesday at Emmanuel in Franklin Springs, Georgia. And then Saturday home versus Greensboro. That's 6 p.m. at Ives Lamel Field. Women's lacrosse was off this past week. Next up for them, 2 USA South Conference road games. Wednesday, Brevard's at Piedmont, 6 p.m. in Demorest, Georgia. And then Saturday at Greensboro at noon. We mentioned men's tennis, winning both Player of the Week and Rookie of the Week awards, Tom Mittring and Tyler Frazee. Men's tennis over this past week, a 9-0 win over Maryville, and then a 5-4 loss versus LaGrange and a 5-4 loss at Johnson C. Smith. Tomorrow, the Tornadoes are in action at home at the McCoy Tennis Complex versus Johnson University of Tennessee. That's at 1:30. Hope you can come on out and see some tennis on Tuesday. And then Saturday, more home tennis versus Huntington at 11:30 a.m. Women's tennis, a 5-4 win over Maryville and a 9-0 win over Wesleyan. Really dominant performances by Samantha Seppi, Margaret Correll, and Eleanor Flannery. They did not drop a single point in their singles matches against Wesleyan. Flannery remains undefeated in singles action. Again, just like the men, tomorrow the women's tennis team will be in action 1:30 p.m. at the McCoy Tennis Complex. And then Saturday home versus Agnes Scott. Track and field competed in the Winthrop Invitational over the weekend. Some good results there. Competitive cheer and dance, we'll talk to them a little later. Second place at the Limestone College competition. Climbing, we'll talk to those folks as well a little later. They're preparing for the regional championships. Cycling had a big weekend at Clemson. We will talk to a few of those cycling student athletes. Scott McGill with a podium win in the men's A collegiate criterium. Cycling will be back in action this weekend in Bristol, Tennessee. And that brings us to our first guest tonight, as we'll talk some men's golf. Excited to have these two gentlemen on the program. As we're joined by head men's and women's golf coach Chris Fry, along with senior men's golfer Austin Fisher. Gentlemen, thanks for joining Tornado Talk tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Hey, well, we've been talking about Austin and the team's results all season long, so great to have you here to break it down a little further. But, Coach, would like to start with you. You know, you're a alum of Brevard College and was an assistant coach for a few years, then elevated to head coach this season. As far as being a head coach and, you know, guiding, you know, both the men's and women's team, how's it been going for you this year?
For the most part, it's been going good. Obviously, I'm in between this and another job as well, but I'm making sure I put the appropriate time into it. I had the pleasure of playing with Austin for a year or so. I've got really close with Tebow and Tom Purcell from the teams as well. The ladies I've known pretty well, so I think we have that camaraderie, and they trust me, and I trust them and what they have to do. So.
Very good. Well, you know, certainly some of these results have spoken for themselves, Coach, and, you know, congratulations on what you guys have accomplished, you know, this semester.
Appreciate
now, Austin, you know, it seems like every time I look over my shoulder, I've got another co-championship or championship or third place finish. I mean, you're just constantly getting it done. And, you know, you're a senior from nearby here at Hendersonville. Your career's coming to an end. You're going to graduate soon. Can you kind of sum it up as far as, you know, what your whole collegiate golf experience has been like?
Well, I came my freshman year. I came to Brevard College to play baseball. I ended up hurting my elbow. I was going to have surgery, and then I asked my doctors that is there any way to avoid it? And they said, yeah, if you don't ever want to play baseball again, you can not have surgery. So I joined the golf team my sophomore year when Coach David Nelson was here, and he told me, like, literally, I have a stacked senior team. I don't know that you'll get to play a lot. And for me, the way I am, I'm really competitive, and I took that as a challenge. And then my sophomore year, I took that, and I said, I'm going to get as good as I'm going to get. And I ended up making our conference team that year and playing in a lot of tournaments my sophomore year. And then my junior year, I said, okay, I really want to be our number one guy. My good friend Craig, who's sitting over there, he was also a really good golfer, and it was pretty much me and him battling it out for the number one position the whole year. And then this year I had one goal in mind, and with, of course, us having only 3 players this year and then the golf program ending after this year, I said I'm either going to go and try to win a tournament or get the best possible place I can get. So pretty much had that mindset the entire year, and it's worked out pretty well so far.
Yeah, no doubt. Just to review and to let folks in on, you know, some of your success, co-champion at last fall's Mars Hill Invitational at Broadmoor Golf Links up in Fletcher, third place at the Diamondback Intercollegiate outside of Myrtle Beach. You were the champion at the Cavalier Spring Invite at Broadmoor, you know, shooting in even par for that tournament. And then third place at the Wingate tournament recently. Broadmoor, you know, is that a course that, you know, you've gotten the chance because it's so close to play a bunch and, you know, you just feel at home at that place?
I mean, I grew up in Hendersonville, of course, and I've played that course thousands of times. And pretty much I go there, and if I don't win, I'm going to be pretty upset. And that's what I've told everybody going in. And obviously the last 2 times I played it, I ended up winning. And then the year before, the tournament before, when I've won twice in a row, the tournament before that, I came in second there to a really good player, Harry Butler. And I was trying to run him down. So I've got a pretty good track record at Broadmoor.
No doubt about it. Well, Coach, I would like to ask you this. You know, you've been a collegiate golfer, you've been an assistant coach, and now a head coach. My curiosity is such, you know, golf is such an individual game. However, on the college level, you're keeping track as a team, how the team's doing, and also you guys are practicing as a team. You're probably, helping each other as teammates, as far as, what you're seeing on the course on any given day. Can you go a little further about how golf on the college level is really a team sport as much as it is an individual sport?
When it comes to being a team sport on the golf side of things, just in general to give context for everyone, you normally take 5 players to a tournament. Top 4 scores is your team total. And I think that's just part of NCAA and whatnot, trying to bring that team atmosphere to it. When it comes down to it, it is an individual sport. But generally, when we go into tournaments, we kind of know what we need to do to either post good as a team, post good as an individual. Me and Austin go about it all the time. I talk with Tom and Tebow as well, what they kind of need to shoot if they're going to want to place good here. And when it comes to it down the stretch, if it's coming to the final round, it went back when we did have a full team. We knew where we stood as a team, like I said, and we kind of knew what had to happen coming in the next few holes or so. Even now, the guys know where their placement is going into the last round. They know what they have to do to pick it up. And I think we have, like I said, we have that camaraderie, and we do help each other, and we push each other, and we trust each other. He's relied on me being the coaching and being there for him and stuff, and being able to do that for him and the other guys, and then trusting in me and what I have to do to help is reassuring for me just as a coach to be in the position I'm in. So.
Austin, would you like to add to that as far as, perhaps how your teammates have really helped you along the way and hopefully how you've helped them in return?
I mean, Chris has been a huge help. He's been a big help the entire time he's been an assistant. I pretty much thought of him as a head pro the entire time he was or a head golf coach, pretty much the whole time he was an assistant. He's someone who knows the game and can help you and can be there, and who knows what they're talking about is a huge advantage. You have a lot of teams out there who just thinks that, like, you have someone out there who's just going to drive the bus to tournaments and things. And if you have someone who's actually going to be there and help you, and you have a team who's able to help you, it's a big, like, I don't know the word for it, but it's a big help to your, like, game. And if you have those people around you, it only makes yourself better.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
To add to that, for my situation, I played 4 years at Brevard. It wasn't necessarily a position where I was at the same level as everyone else. I talked to David Nelson. I walked on. I've been in the same position he was in. I was on the team when he was just walking on, so I kind of know what that thing is, that kind of pressure and stuff. The team, the whole 4 years I was there, was a great team. We had a camaraderie the whole 4 years. And so I kind of know what it takes to work up to a certain level. And that's what I can say for Austin right away when he walked on. Obviously knew he had a given talent for golf, in athletics, whatever the case may be. He's an athletic person. I knew that right away, especially when he goes on and makes our conference team his sophomore year. And I mean, it pushed me as a person because he shows up out of nowhere and he's beating you. But so I've been in that same position. Tebow, the two guys, Tebow and Tom, this year have tremendous improvement. Tremendous improvement. And I've been in a situation where I've joined a team and there wasn't necessarily expectations, but you create those for yourself. Like you said, I'm a competitive person just like he is. Tebow's competitive, Tom's competitive. And so when you kind of put that on yourself, you push yourself. And the people around you push you as well. So.
Sure. Now, Austin, would like viewers to get to know a little bit more about you. And before we kind of get into your, background and what your future plans are, I would like to hear about you as a golfer,
Okay.
If anyone settles in and watches the PGA Tour on, CBS or NBC or something, different golfers have different strengths. Some of them, are great at the long ball. Others have the short game, whatever it might be. How would you describe yourself as far as your strengths on the links?
So I've got the long ball. I can hit the ball a long ways. But also I would say I'm a very good iron player. I have a strong iron game. My putting is my weakness. It comes and it goes. Here recently it has showed up a lot, and that's due to a lot of practice. And I've put a lot of time and I've worked really hard on it, which, I mean, you have to do in any sport. If you want to get better, you have to put in the time. But I would say, like, as me as a golfer, I mean, I try to do everything as good as I possibly can. I'm a pretty angry person, like, I think so. I mean, some of the guys on the team, Tebow and Tom, they give me crap because I get mad when I shoot even par, because I think about all those people out, like all those shots out there that I could have done better, could have executed better, and could have done things much better than what happened. And especially at the level that I am now, where if I shoot over par now, I'm kind of upset at myself because I know I could have done so much better. And like I said, I mean, hitting the ball a long ways helps a ton. But you hear the saying, you drive for show and you putt for dough. That is an actual saying. Like, that saying comes true. Like, tournaments are won with putting. If you can't putt and you can't be a good putter, you will not win. You see that on tour. You see that everywhere. Tiger Woods is known as one of the best putters in the world. And right now he's struggling just like everybody else does. And you just haven't seen him win except for the one time last year. He's struggling with his putting right now. Like, if you can't putt, you can't win.
Yeah, and to add to that, and I've told Austin this myself, and I've told other people, Austin, like, he is long, which is an advantage. You're having shorter clubs in compared to some other people. But another thing Austin is he's fairly accurate, which if you got a long ball, that helps. He's not too far offline, and when he is, we generally know the direction he's going to miss, so we can adjust for it, which we think about all the time. And obviously, like you mentioned, the putting is kind of his weakness, but I've seen him put a lot of time into it, and that's what we try to do leading up to tournament time, whether it's in the practice round or on the putting green before we tee off. So we try to do what we can to adjust for it. So.
Yeah, and with that accuracy, just to keep yourself out of trouble can go a long way.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Austin, you'll be graduating soon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, can you let viewers know a little bit, maybe your future plans and what you got on the horizon post-graduation?
So I'm going to be working at Conisty Falls Golf Course, which is a local golf course, but as well as I'm going to be playing in some pro events. So I'm turning pro, and my first tournament, I believe, is going to be May 2nd. I'm playing in the qualifier for the Wells Fargo Championship.
Fantastic.
It's going to be out of Charlotte. I'm going to try my hand in the pro circuit and see what I can do. I played in pro events as an amateur, and some of those pro events, like, I would have been able to win money because I placed well enough, but I couldn't take it because I was at Brevard College. And then, so I'm just going to see what happens there, and hopefully be able to stick with that for a good while as well as working full-time at Conisty. So it's going to be interesting. We'll see what happens.
Excellent. Well, we wish you the best of luck. And Coach, before we let you guys go, I do want to mention the women's side as well, you know, and Taylor Scovell in particular has had some great success on the women's side for the Tornadoes, and there's a tournament this weekend coming up at Tusculum, you know, where the men were not too long ago. Can you touch on the women's team just a bit?
Starting off, Taylor coming off a win last semester along with Austin, that was one of the highlights of me being able to be one of the coaches, have two of our players take wins, and she's a good player. The other two are relatively young and they're still learning, but they enjoy the game, and that's what I try to do, is just go out there and have fun. We're going to Link Hills this weekend. It's the same tournament the guys just played. The field's going to be good, and I've tried to tell them we're going to go out and have fun. It is their last event for the year, so we're going to try and place as well as we can.
And one last event for the men's side as well, a new addition to the schedule, kind of some breaking news here. The Tornadoes on April 19th through 21st will head to Atlanta, to the Atlanta area, to play in a tournament hosted by Emory University. Should be a great field there. And one last chance for Austin to get it done on the collegiate side before he goes pro.
Well, hopefully I can make conference. Right now it's looking pretty good, so maybe one more.
This last tournament is very good for him. Emory, the team hosting, is actually number one in D3. The team's Huntington's going to be there. They're number 2 in the country at D2. There's really good teams there. It's really good competition for him. There are teams that are in our conference. Come conference if he makes it the following week. So it's a very good test for not only him, Tebow, and Tom Purcell to finish strong. So.
Very good. Well, Austin Fisher, along with your teammates Thibaut Trenchant and Tom Purcell, appreciate you guys, continuing to grind it out there on the links. Best of luck to you, Austin, upon graduation and in your future, plans as far as, trying to crack that professional circuit. Coach, great job this semester, and thanks, guys, for joining the show tonight.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, fellas. All right, that was senior Austin Fisher along with head men's and women's golf coach Chris Fry. Great to talk a little golf with these two. And women's golf will be in action March 31st through April 2nd at Tusculum, and then men's golf with their season finale April 19th through 21st in the Atlanta area, an event hosted by Emory. Now, we'll shift gears and talk a little climbing here. So from the links, which is someplace I know head coach Travis Gray of the climbing team enjoys being in his free time, to climbing head coach Travis Gray,
hey,
along
Phil,
with
how are you?
student athlete Nathan Boppel. Great to see you guys here.
Thanks for having us.
Well, I just talked to Nate not too long ago at the McCoy Tennis Complex. And he
dual athlete here.
Yeah, and he gave a big plug to what's going on with the climbing team and, what's around the corner.
Nice.
Regional championships coming up this weekend in Nashville. Really the biggest event, on the schedule for you all.
For our region especially.
Coach, can you just kind of prep people a little bit, what's happening this weekend in Nashville?
Yeah, so it's the Appalachian Regional Championship event. It's a USA Climbing sanctioned competition. So schools from all over our region, which kind of encompasses North Carolina, Tennessee, and Kentucky schools, will be there. So last year there were about 80 climbers there. We're hoping that's going to be about the same amount this year. Could be more because the region just seems to grow every year. So we're excited. They're going to be having all three disciplines at the competition, so speed, sport, and bouldering. And we'll be participating in all of those. So, we can't wait to get to Nashville and get on the wall.
Yeah, and in this weekend, it was my understanding that you all headed over to Mooresville to a gym called Cliffhangers, where you were able to get some additional training. Did that facility provide some things, especially on that speed and sport side of things?
Yeah, so Cliffhangers is an incredible facility. It's a commercial climbing gym. It's one of the biggest in the state. And they have an Olympic-sized speed wall, which is a blast to climb on. We got to try that out. And some really incredible lead climbing walls and bouldering facility as well. So, we just went there, kind of had our game plan in mind for regionals and kind of implemented that there. And then, after all is said and done, we kind of had a free-for-all, which was a blast, So it was cool to kind of get out of Brevard, take a day trip, and get down to Mooresville and just kind of see how the plan was going to be executed. And pretty proud of the team with how they did, and so I think we can expect good things for regionals. Now,
Nathan, we touched on it at the start of the interview that you're also on the men's tennis team, a key part of that team. The men's tennis team is in the heart of their schedule. You've got your biggest climbing event coming up this Saturday. How are you managing, focusing on each, really, as far as your own training as well as your, just your day-to-day schedule?
Yeah, it's definitely hard to balance between the two. Currently, climbing is on the top of the priority list. So if there's a climbing event or climbing practice, it takes precedent over tennis currently. But so far it's worked out where I've only missed 2 or 3 tennis matches. So that's been really fortunate for it not to interfere at a more serious level. But it works out to the point where I'm able to practice with both teams pretty regularly and still not be sore or worked one way or the other.
Now, were you able to head to Mooresville for that training session as well this past weekend?
I was, yes.
And so can you shed a little more light on these other disciplines? You guys, are focused on bouldering through most of the season and now have got to gear up quickly for speed and sport. Can you tell viewers a little more about exactly what that entails?
So speed's pretty easy. It's fastest time up the wall. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's how it works. It's really cool. It's a great spectator sport to watch because a lot of people are like, wow, this person, because there's two identical walls placed right next to each other. And it's really fun to watch because you can clearly see who's winning and who's not. It's fun to watch. The other thing is you got sport climbing, and that adds a little more risk per se, but it's also not riskier. It's you're climbing and clipping into bolts as you climb up with a rope. So if you fall, you're going to fall a little bit more, but you're going to be caught.
In that clipping that you described, I mean, does that resemble a lot of what you might see out here at Pisgah National Forest?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's where it all kind of comes from. It's just lead climbing outside and just kind of taking the rope with you as you go up and just clipping in and making sure you have a trustworthy belayer underneath you to catch you in case you slip off. But a lot of fun, gets you really good and exposed on the wall, and just kind of adds another element of difficulty in terms of the mental game behind getting to the top. So falling is definitely in the back of your mind, but you try to just channel that out and just focus on the puzzle, and that's figuring out the route. So really interesting.
Well, Nathan, I mentioned Pisgah National Forest, and one of the things I just think is so remarkable about the Brevard College climbing team is that even though your events occur in gyms and, you work on these three disciplines and that's where the competition lies, you've still got this wonderland naturally at your backyard. Have you had the chance to spend a lot of time out in nature and maybe apply some of those skills from the gym to some stuff recreationally?
Oh, 100%. I go out as much as possible. I'm currently in an advanced rock climbing class and go out every Wednesday to work on various hard skills with knots and setting up anchors. But I got my climbing partner, Chadwick, and me and him try to go out once or twice a week and put up some climbs, which is really fun. I actually was out in the woods today and saw Travis doing some bouldering, so it's kind of cool. It's a small world out there.
Right, all that land out there, but you happen to bump into Coach.
Yeah, I love seeing that when that happens, So, yeah, just the small climbing community here, but it's such an awesome community, too. And I love to see my climbers out getting after it. That's what I tell them to do, and that's where they're really going to get the most out of their kind of Brevard College climbing experience, and that's where they're going to get stronger the most. You can train in a gym all day, but there's just nothing like bearing down on some real rock climbs, wouldn't you say, Nathan?
Very much so. It definitely makes you a lot stronger climbing outside.
So, Coach, what are going to be the priorities this week as far as getting the team specifically ready for regionals? I would imagine you've got some more practice scheduled. Will you be tackling any more speed and sport, disciplines?
So we'll do a couple drills just to get them ready for, lead and sport, but main thing is just kind of sticking to our routine. We really do kind of train for this event all year round. So this, regionals on Saturday will be that culmination of everything we've learned and what we've applied into our program. So they're pretty well prepared, and we'll go over some more strategy things throughout the week. And but the main thing is that we have low expectations, so we can go and have some fun and have some really high hopes and just represent the college, and just that in and of itself is such an honor for us, and we just can't wait to get there.
You want to add to that, Nathan? I'd imagine you guys as student athletes are pretty pumped up about this opportunity coming up on Saturday.
Yeah, it's very exciting because it's one of the biggest events of the year so far, and also it's very important to stay rested. That's one of going to be the key things this week is not going outside and climbing, unfortunately, and just staying inside and make sure you're stretching and staying very hydrated and eating healthy. That's going to be some big things this week.
Yeah, requires some discipline to keep
some
yourself in tune for this weekend. Well, we're really excited to hear all about what goes down this weekend at the regional championships in Nashville. Coach, any final thoughts as far as maybe kind of looking back on the season as it's starting to come towards a close? Just how proud you are of the team.
Yeah, I mean, there's really no words. I mean, with the crew that we have, they're all exceptional human beings, student athletes. It's been a blast getting to coach them, and so we're growing, and it's exciting to see. We got some really awesome recruits coming in, and who are going to be able to get taken under guys like Nathan's wings, and just become the next thing for the team in terms of our success. And yeah, so I always tell them they're ambassadors of this team, and they do such a good job whenever we bring recruits here and just making them feel at home and just helping grow the program just as much as I do. So yeah, I appreciate it.
and Nathan, before I let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to or thank who's helped you get to this point?
Well, I'd have to say my parents initially. They've helped fund a little bit of college and have been very encouraging on this new sport that is wouldn't have normally pursued.
Yeah, well, I've had a blast getting to know the sport myself. Places like ESPN are starting to, show it on air more and more. So I believe it's on its way up to some big things. It's going to be in the Olympics in a few years as well. So,
Be rad.
but first things first, USA Climbing Collegiate Appalachian Regional Championship this Saturday in
That's
Nashville.
right.
Best of luck, gentlemen.
Thank
We'll
you
be
so much.
following you guys throughout the weekend, and hopefully things will go the Tornadoes' way this weekend in Nashville.
Sweet. Thanks.
All right,
Will.
thanks for joining the show. All right, head coach Travis Gray and Nathan Boppel previewing that regional championship as all three disciplines will be on display at that regional championships, and the Tornadoes have been getting ready. A big training session this past weekend in Mooresville. And speaking of sports with three disciplines, glad to have these two on the show. Going to talk a little cycling with Jason Marquardt. Did I pronounce that right, by the way?
Marquardt.
Marquardt.
There you go.
Thank you. And Scott McGill.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to have you guys on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Well, one of the things I've been trying to do all season long with this program is educate folks on climbing, but also your sport, cycling. And I mentioned the three disciplines: mountain biking in the fall, cyclocross in the winter, and now the road cycling portion. Can you guys each talk a little bit about that, how you as athletes juggle the disciplines, the different disciplines, and having to train different ways depending on, what kind of bike you're about to get on?
Yeah, so for mountain bike in the fall, I basically just ride my mountain bike a little bit. I don't really race mountain bikes too much outside of collegiate, so collegiate's kind of like a time to mix it up, and I race mostly roads, so it's fun to do a different discipline. And then cyclocross kind of ties in with both road and mountain bike. It takes a lot of fitness as well as a lot of bike handling skills that you get from the mountain bike side. And then road is what I look forward to the whole year. So road racing is like my bread and butter, so that's what I really like to do.
Very nice.
Yeah, kind of building off what Scott was saying, this is my first season on the team, so I'm kind of approaching road for the first time. So I guess mainly the big thing I've been working on is just those general road cycling skills, riding impacts, doing attacks, that sort of thing. So I don't really know about the transition quite yet, but going to mountain bike season next fall, I'm really excited to kind of tune in those kind of off-road skills.
Well, I do want to talk about the big success the Tornadoes had this past weekend. You all headed to a road racing event hosted by Clemson University, not too far from here. Two different locations for the races, both Saturday and Sunday. Scott, you win the Men's A Collegiate Criterium on Sunday. Let's start there. Obviously it went well if you end up in first place, of course. But how did the race go for you specifically, and what was that race like?
So I don't know if the audience knows what a criterium is.
Yeah, let's start there.
Yeah, it's basically an hour race, so it's based off time, and it's on a short, usually like anywhere from a half mile to a 1 mile circuit. And most of the time it's in like a town center, and it's a big party, so it's a very spectator-friendly event. But this one was held at like a school in kind of like a parking lot format, and it had a lot of turns, and it was very fast. So that's where I excel, is in the very turny races. So I actually rode there from here as good training. So it was about 70 miles there, and then I got the criterium was.
So you did that. Wait a second. So on Sunday morning, you left Brevard by bicycle.
Yeah.
And you headed to Anderson, South Carolina.
Yeah.
For this race, and that was your warm up.
Yeah, it was a good warm up.
What time did you leave campus?
I left at about 6 a.m. Yeah. But it's all downhill going down 178.
Yeah, it's still fascinating to me, man. I love it. And then the day before, because you mentioned what a criterium was the road race. And you finished third in that one. Before we get to Jason, can you explain a little of what the road race was like? You know, you told what the criterium was. What was the road race like?
So a road race, it was 65 miles in total, and it was 5 laps of a circuit, so it was about a 13-mile lap. And it was much hillier than the criterium, so this happened to be a hilly road race. There are flat road races, but this one had a few hills that were ranging from a minute to about 4 minutes long, so that's how long the effort would be. So that really broke up the pack, so a lot of people got dropped, and at the finish there was only about 15 people actually left in the pack, and we started with about 40. So that was a long race where people just slowly get dropped, while the criterium is very fast and very exciting.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Now, Jason, you earned 2 podium finishes over the weekend as well in men's collegiate D competition, placed 5th in the road race, correct? And then I'm looking here for your 4th place result in the criterium. How did the weekend go for you?
I would say this is probably my best weekend of racing so far. I spent a lot of time training earlier this spring and late winter to really kind of build into this race. And I was really excited to kind of see that training pay off in both the road race and the criterium this past weekend.
Now, I would like to talk to you a little bit about this. And I had the same question for the golfers who are on the show. You know, racing bikes very much is an individual effort. You know, I would imagine, especially for these long road races, it can get kind of lonely at times. You know, if you're all by yourself. However, you know, the way the Brevard College Tornado cycling program operates is as a team.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear from both of you as far as, you know, what makes the Tornadoes a team when it comes to the cycling program and how that helps you guys during, you know, race day.
Yeah, so for example, in the criterium, this is an example of how we're a team in the race. We're also a very good team outside of the race. But in the race, we had 3 riders in the race that I was in. So me, Tyler Clark, and Dalton Collins. And Tyler got in a breakaway in the beginning of the race. So that means he was broken away from the pack out in front. And that meant that me and Dalton didn't have any responsibility to do anything in the race. So we could sit and draft behind the other teams while they had the responsibility to bring the breakaway back.
Now,
so
is that some strategy you guys even might discuss before the race and say, hey, this is how we're going to approach this?
Yeah, so our strategy was to get out in front and stay in the front of the bunch because of how turny the race was. It was very strung out and single file, so it made it very difficult to move up through the bunch of riders. So Tyler ended up getting off the front in the first couple laps, and then me and Dalton really just got to sit in and wait for the end. And then Dalton ended up unfortunately crashing, so he was out of the race. So it was just left up. And then after Tyler was brought back, he was out front the whole day, so he was very tired, so he ended up getting dropped. But then it was all up to me, and I had really the easy part. All I had to do was finish it off.
Now, Jason, I believe Lucas Pound, your teammate, was also in your category and in your races both Saturday and Sunday. Did you work with Lucas similarly at any point?
Absolutely. Mainly in our race, we had a much smaller group, smaller pack. So I would mainly try and keep the race as fast as I could, staying on the front, while Lucas kind of stayed in the pack. In case something were to happen to me, he could then try and sprint for position towards the end there. So a similar strategy would adapt it to a smaller team.
Now, staying on that same topic, you know, away from, you know, the actual race itself, you know, let's go even further, you know, as far as you guys as a team. You know, you guys train together, you hang out together, all those things. You know, a lot of these other schools, you know, are more of a club team kind of thing, or just an individual showing up with happens to wear that school's jersey. But you guys are really a team unit. Can you guys talk even further, you know, how that helps, you know, both you individually, but also the greater good of the team?
I mean, yeah, we always train together. I rarely ride by myself, so there's always somebody to train with and help push me in my training. And then we're always helping each other out at the races. Like at the start, if we need water or something, there's always the teammates who aren't racing at that specific time there to help all the time. And then just cheering for us during the race, too. The teammates that aren't racing, you can always hear them screaming your name from the sideline.
Absolutely. Another thing is, this is my first year in the program, and I found that a lot of the guys on the team really kind of taking me under their wing and kind of showed me like what to do and what's kind of going on. And Scott really being a big part of that has helped me out a lot. But kind of building off what Scott said, there's always someone there for you. And I feel like it's much more of a family than like a team aspect. And that's probably the thing that really keeps me coming back and really keeps me excited for seasons to come.
Now, neither of you's from North Carolina or from this area.
Yeah.
You know, Scott, you're a senior from Maryland. you're from Illinois,
Yeah.
correct? Outside the Chicago area.
Yes, sir.
So somehow you guys found Brevard College in this, cycling program. Can you talk about, the benefits of being at Brevard College, but also being in this area of the country if you're going to pursue cycling?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely one of the best places in the world to ride a bike, for sure. So a lot of other schools, for example, Marion University also has a very good cycling team. but
Indianapolis,
yeah,
correct?
And one of my teammates on my trade team, so not from the collegiate team, he goes to Marion, and he trains mostly inside because the weather is so bad and the riding is really not good. Lots of cars and in the city riding. But here we have all the mountains. We have all the training you can do. It doesn't get too cold. And the trails for mountain biking are also world class. So it really is beneficial to live in this area for training purposes.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of versatility that you get here that you can't find anywhere else in the world, and that really drew me to the area, as well as like all the other things to do. Then when you're not training, you have those rest days. You can fish, you can climb, you can do those other sort of things.
Yeah, it really just seems like the ideal spot if you're a cycling student athlete to be here. Now, coming up next, an event this weekend in Bristol, Tennessee. Now, Scott, you're the veteran of the group here. Have you been to that particular race before?
I have not, but I've heard from some other riders about the courses, and it's 2 criteriums, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. So there's no road race this weekend.
And I'd imagine in that part of the country, maybe some elevation involved?
I believe there is some elevation in these courses, yes.
And then looking even further ahead, national championships in Augusta, Georgia this year, which is great for us because it's not all that far compared to, like, for instance, the mountain bike championships all the way in Montana, was a huge effort just to get out there. So it's going to be, in our region. Have you guys already started to talk about, hey, we've got our eye on these national championships and, we belong there?
Yeah, we are actually going to start practicing for the team time trial in the coming weeks, which is, I don't know if the audience knows what a team time trial is, but
please educate them.
So in the collegiate, it's 4 riders from the same team, and you go on about a 20-mile course, and it's the fastest time that wins. But you're solo, so you're not with the other teams. And then there's also a road race and a criterium event at the national championships. So we have been talking about practicing for that, so practicing pacing strategies and everything. And then this is actually going to be my first chance at the collegiate national championships. So even though I'm a senior, I've never raced the national championships because I took a semester off one spring and then I had conflicts the other years. So I'm very excited to have my first shot at winning the national championships this year.
What a great way to cap off your career,
Yeah.
Scott. Congratulations on that. Jason, any final thoughts before I let you go as far as, what, you said you recently joined the team here, your experiences so far here at Brevard College?
I would say overall I'm really enjoying it. It's not at all what I expected. It's extremely beneficial to me as a cyclist and just kind of as an athlete in general. And having a really supportive group of guys and girls around me really kind of I think is going to help me not only as an athlete but just kind of as a person in general.
Outstanding. Well, gentlemen, good luck this weekend at the King University event up in Bristol, Tennessee. We'll be watching closely as those results start to come in, and then, of course, the national championships later this semester in Augusta, Georgia. It's been great getting to know both of you guys better. Good luck the rest of the way, and keep doing what you're doing.
Yep. Cool. Thanks
All
for
right.
having us.
Thanks, guys. All right, Jason Marquardt and Scott McGill both coming off big weekends in road cycling. All sorts of positive results from that cycling team this past weekend. Before we get to our next guest, Hannah Rensman with a 4th place finish in women's collegiate category A, the road race. Also Hannah Dixon finishing 2nd in women's category C, the road race as well. And we'll be following the Brevard College cycling team as they continue their march towards national championships. And now we'll switch gears, talking with my buddy, Coach Finley, talking some football. Great to have you on the program, Coach.
Well, thanks, Phil. Great to be here.
Well, Coach, we've had pretty much every assistant coach on the staff on the program at some time, but you have such a busy schedule. It took us a while to get to you, but Thanks for joining the show tonight.
Oh, absolutely.
Do want to start with this. You know, you recently were promoted, to the linebackers coach.
Yes, sir.
And, congratulations on that. Can you tell folks a little bit how your responsibilities have perhaps changed from being assistant linebackers coach to now, the key guy when it comes to managing that unit?
So now with managing the unit, kind of obviously from my background in the military, it's similar from just moving up. I'm going to have more responsibility, watching more of the film, taking more responsibility in the meeting room, directing like what technique we're going to be using, what drills, and analyzing our opponent throughout the week and what we need to accomplish, and obviously working with Coach Jakes and taking his guidance and leadership.
Now, you mentioned your background in the military, and I would be remiss not to spend a little bit of time talking to you about that. I had the pleasure of joining the football team for your promotion ceremony when you were promoted to United States Marine Corps Gunnery Sergeant in a special ceremony on November of last year. Before we get into some of the details and how military is such a good fit with football coaching, can you remember back that night and just how special that was to have the entire team in attendance for your promotion?
Well, Phil, it was awesome that Coach Kayat and the football team was so willing to do that, and then also for the college to be good with having that tradition, because when you get promoted in the military, we do those traditions. Like football has their traditions, but military, it's a tradition to have that promotion ceremony with your promotion officer, and then you have your staff NCO, which was Anthony Hernandez, who's a great friend of mine. But having them in there, not just at the ceremony, but where they were in formation, because as I've said before, it's taken my two loves of the military and football and put them together, and they go hand in hand in so many aspects. But now having the ability to share that with those guys was just phenomenal, because they shared football with me, because it's always been one of my dreams is to be around football. Would love to coach it, and obviously I'm living that dream out every single day here. Having that right there just showed like they shared their life with me. So now I got to show them what the military side was, like why I act the way I act, how I respond certain ways and everything like that, where I'm a little kooky, but there's reasons behind why the method to the madness.
Now, you received a opportunity to get into the coaching profession due to this Soldiers to Sidelines program, which identifies members of the military who might have an interest in eventually coaching football, correct? And this certainly has worked out for you, Coach. Can you tell a little more about how you first started coaching? You're a member of the Marine Corps, and then suddenly you find yourself on the sidelines coaching.
Yeah, so I was at Walter Reed Hospital up in Bethesda, Maryland, and while I was there working with the our wounded veterans, there was a organization that was in their infancy stage and wanted to get back and help veterans and definitely some wounded warriors, get them out and give them something else to do, because we as people in the military love to serve, and we have the honor, the courage, the commitment. We have a lot of aspects that you can learn on the football field, the leadership, the attention to detail, trying to motivate somebody to do something they may not want to do. So when I heard about it, I was a little hesitant at first because I wasn't sure what it was about, because the organization was like brand new. We had our first conference in one of the classrooms on the military base, and then we had our first little conference there, went through our seminar. After our seminar, we had a coaches clinic, and at that coaches clinic, my first head coach, Colin Dish at Bishop O'Connell, from just what I did at that, picking up the drills he wanted me to do, doing the stuff that he asked me to do, we got into like a agreement, started talking, and then he brought me on for my first year. and I was like the assistant linebackers coach, and I was the assistant running backs coach and supposed to be on the JV. We didn't have a JV team, but moved up that way. But the Soldiers of Sidelines has just grown over the years and is now doing internships at other division, like at other college programs. They're also doing high school because it's gotten me my foot in the door, and I wouldn't be here without Soldiers of Sidelines because Coach Kayad had a close relationship with Harrison Bernstein, who helps guide Soldiers Sidelines and run Soldiers Sidelines.
SoldiersToSidelines.org if you want to check out that great organization a little further. Certainly some amazing work they're doing. And, right here to my left, Coach Randy Finley, a product of that group. Now, Coach, bringing it back to Brevard College and the
Absolutely.
Tornadoes, spring practice getting started a week from today.
Yes.
And I know as a coaching staff, you guys have probably been putting together some plans as far as what those practices are going to be like. Can you shed some light to the audience as far as, what you guys have in store these next few weeks for the Tornadoes?
Well, we're just going to be going in and installing both off from the offense and defensive side, and then what Coach Jaron is going to be doing from the special teams. We're just going to be doing install and getting the guys that we have here right now, and then we're going to be getting the new recruits in August. During fall camp, we're just going to be going over install and getting them ready and preparing them for basically the fall.
And with the fall, before we know it, and you mentioned the new recruits, when you talk to potential recruits, without going into details on specific individuals, but in general, what do you tell them about the experience that they're going to have at Brevard College under a coaching staff led by Coach Bill Kayat and including, great coaches like yourself?
Well, I mean, when I talk to them, I explain to them what the coaching staff has, like their background, their resume, so to speak. And then when they get a chance to talk to myself and the other coaches on the staff and come and see, Brevard College and see what we're about, they actually see that we are people that care about them. That, yes, we want to win football games, absolutely. I mean, we wouldn't be in the business if we weren't. But we teach them life skills, and we are talking to them and helping them grow and develop as young men. Because at the end of the day, 4 years, unless something happens, they're going to be out of here with a college degree. And that's the goal and the plan. And they're getting to learn a lot of life lessons that are going to be valuable that they can take on afterwards.
Now, I've spoke to Coach Bill Kayat about this when he spoke of you, but I'd like to hear it straight from you. As far as with your military background, specifically, what are some of the things that you are able to instill in a student athlete at Brevard College that, perhaps your run-of-the-mill football coach might not have, these sort of things running through their head?
Well, before you said run-of-the-mill, the first thing that came to mind was discipline. I think everything starts from the discipline. You have to have self-discipline, but sometimes when you don't have the self-discipline, you have people that will help you gain that discipline. Some of the other things is just trying to relate to them. And I mean, obviously football is not a life or death situation, but when they understand that when you're a part of a team and you're a part of an organization, when you're a Brevard Tornado, you're a Brevard Tornado for 24/7. Like whatever you do, it reflects upon you and the organization. So
right.
If you go out and you do something great, awesome. If you do something bad, it comes back to the organization. That's something that I've learned through the military, and I'm sure the other coaches have learned that through their profession and their careers. But it's also from being able to take some of the life lessons that I've learned from the military, and if you don't do this what happens. And if you're not a part of a team and you're an individual, you will just never be successful. The reason why I think the military is so successful, and anyone that can get military members in an organization or on a team, is it takes away that me concept, and it brings overall together. Because it doesn't matter who's getting the glory, or if this guy's the best guy or that guy's the best guy. You're only as strong as your weakest link, and as long as you're moving forward in the same aspect, that's why you see people picking each other up off the battlefield or up after something happens. We're going to make mistakes, but as long as it's a mistake that is correctable and not a mental mistake, because the mental errors are what hurt you.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense, Coach. And yeah, by run of the mill, I didn't mean average. I meant someone without the military background like yourself. Well, Coach, before I let you go, I know you worked closely last year with defensive coordinator Kurt Cavea, who was a big part of building up the Tornadoes. Can you talk a little more about Coach Cavea and how important he was to your development?
Wow, Coach Govea, it was awesome. I mean, the amount of time that we spent together, it's kind of hard to put into words, but he gave me so much information. I'd take copious amount of notes. I would ask him questions all the time. I mean, it was like having a lifelike encyclopedia, or just having Albert Einstein there, telling you everything. I mean, just a wealth of knowledge. And, obviously I've never played the linebacker position at, the high school, college level or anything, but being able to learn from him and talk to him and work through those. And obviously by no means would I consider myself an expert or anywhere near his level. But I think what we've created with that work relationship and everything, I think if I ever had a problem or an issue, he would always be there to help me.
Yeah, well, Coach, you're part of a phenomenal coaching staff here with the Tornadoes. I feel like Brevard College and all of us are lucky to have you on board as well, and all the experience you bring. Best of luck as you head into spring practice beginning next Monday. I know you guys are going to have all sorts of things going on and have the student athletes hard at work preparing for next year ultimately, when we really get started, back in August again. Any final thoughts as far as, where we're heading with this deal, Coach?
I think we're moving in the right direction. What we're bringing in and what we're returning, I think we're going to have a good product this fall.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I'm certainly on board as well. Coach, thanks again for joining the program. Great to talk to you further, and for our audience at Tornado Talk, and good luck with spring practice. All right, Coach Randy Finley, assistant coach, in charge of linebackers. As we will shift gears yet again here on Tornado Talk, as our guests get settled here at Dugan's Pub. All right, joined now by competitive cheer and dance student athletes Olivia Brock, Emily Robinson, and Casey Robinson. Ladies, thanks for joining the program.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Well, you all had a big result over the weekend. Second place finish. I know in a lot of ways the culmination of all the hard work you've been putting in. Tell folks, and I'd like to hear from each of you, a little bit about what went on this weekend and how you guys were able to pull that off with that second place finish.
So we put in a lot of work. We spent most of the week doing 6 a.m. practices and then practicing our normal practice hours on Mondays and Thursdays at a gymnastics gym in Hendersonville. And then we went to competition, and we prayed about it, and we gave it all we got, and everything hit on the floor, and we were super proud of ourselves, and we ended up with second place. So,
anything further to add, ladies?
We went through a lot of changes as a team, a lot of coming and going and just a bunch of adversity, but we managed to come together as a team and overcome it and exceed and surpass what we even thought we were capable of. So I was really proud of us for being able to do that.
Yeah, it was a lot different. I wasn't able to compete because I did hurt myself this past week, but watching them do it to their best abilities and pull through was a great thing.
Now, you three are seniors.
Yes, sir.
And, certainly provide a lot of the leadership when it comes to the cheer and dance team. Can you talk about that, how important it is for you to be an example and to, perhaps lead some of the younger student athletes who are, maybe even just trying to adjust to being a college student suddenly, and, how you take pride in that leadership role?
I think it's so important to lead by example, because the freshmen, they watch every single thing that you do, and they see you doing something, and if they want to be like you. They want to do everything that you're doing, and if you're doing everything right and you're showing up to practice and you're putting in hard work, they're going to do the same thing, and that's what you want in your team is everybody to work hard and work together. So if you're doing that, and then everybody else will follow, and I think that's one of the most important things.
Yeah, they're coming in a whole new atmosphere, so having us to look up to, they try to be as, I wouldn't say great, but as good as we are, so we just try to show them the best that we can so that they can be the best that they can be.
Now, back to this past weekend. There were 7 teams, I understand, in this competition, including a Division I team in University of Georgia.
Yeah.
Was that intimidating at all to, have the D1 team there and realize you guys still have to just stay focused and do your thing?
Very.
Extremely, because we were the only D3 team there.
Which makes that second place finish that much more worthwhile and worth celebrating here that, you guys were able to get the second place finish. Now, there's the competitive cheer, part of your season, but there's also what you all do from, more of a spirit standpoint, cheerleading at football games, cheerleading at basketball games, just trying to get the student body fired up about the Tornadoes. Can you guys talk about that part of being a, cheerleader? You told us about what it took to train and get ready for this past weekend, but how about that side of things?
Spirit and leading the school and trying to get them pumped up for games, I think is one of the most important things that we do as cheerleaders. That's our main purpose is to represent the school and get the school pumped about game day and things like that. It's really exciting to see the crowd get involved with us.
Great.
Yeah, and I can imagine, there's probably different opportunities. Say you're at a football game and maybe the team's losing and and no one's cheering or clapping, and you guys have to dig deep perhaps during times like that.
Yeah, no matter what, we always have to keep a smile on our face, and we always have to act like we're winning, even if we're losing. So.
I would say, honestly, when we are losing, that's when we actually get louder.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, and then when the team scores a touchdown or there's an electric dunk or that they take the lead, you guys really lead the parade of cheers. I remember one of those last second wins on the football field this season, and you could see on the video you all running down towards that end zone. Have to be careful not to cross the line and get a flag on the Tornadoes or anything like that, but you all are right there every step of the way.
Yeah, we get really excited, even if we are winning or losing. So we just try our best to try to get the crowd how we are. So.
Now, before I let you go, would like to hear from each of you as far as letting the audience know a little bit more about you personally. You guys are all seniors, so you'll be graduating soon from Brevard College. Why don't we go with major, and the degree you'll be graduating with, and then what your future plans might be.
So I'm a double major in criminal justice and psychology. I'm really interested in sort of social work or doing forensic interviewing. I plan to keep doing things and being involved with cheerleading. I coach a youth team for Rosman Youth.
Great.
So
I know we've got a tremendous criminal justice program here, and it's great to hear that that's going to eventually probably turn into a career for you. How about yourself?
So I'm an environmental studies major and then a geology, biology, and physics minors, and I'm actually attending Clemson University in August for a master's degree in environmental engineering with hopes to work in solar energy.
Wow, congratulations on that. My question for you when I hear those majors is, this area that we're in, which is obviously a beautiful environment. We've got Pisgah National Forest in our backyard. Are there any takeaways from that as far as applications where you can head on out into nature and be able to learn even more?
I'm definitely lucky where I live. There's a lot of organizations and companies that are very environmentally based because we live in such beautiful forested areas that I have a lot of companies that I can turn to for guidance, and I have a lot of job opportunities. And definitely living here and getting to firsthand experience nature in its truest value is going to help me to want to further succeed in my career because I'm going to want to preserve that as much as I can.
Love it. congratulations on being accepted to the master's program as well. And how about yourself?
I'm a criminal justice major as well, so I'm hoping to move to Georgia and be a part of a crime scene unit out there and do stuff like that.
Okay, last question for you guys. Your head coach, Molly Penland, has probably instilled all sorts of wisdom into you. As you head towards graduation and ultimately, your next move, what are the things that cheerleading and being part of this team you think is going to help you along the way, throughout the rest of your life?
Never giving up and teamwork for sure. We had a lot of people throughout the season leave the team, and everybody that stuck together, we pulled together as a team. And being on this team has showed me how important it is to use teamwork, and that's going to help me in any career setting that I decide to go to. It's really important to be a part of a team and to look to others for help.
Confidence, to have more confidence in yourself. So these two teammates and my coach have had a lot more confidence in me than I've ever had, and that's shown me that I'm more capable of what I think I am, and to definitely reach further in life. Yeah.
I would say basically teamwork. Teamwork is a really important thing when you're doing cheerleading, because I wouldn't say putting people's lives in your hands, but there's a lot of injuries that can happen, and being as a team, you can bind it to prevent injuries. So it's a really important thing.
Excellent. Well, appreciate you all coming on the show. Congratulations on that second place win. I could just see on the, when it hit social media and we saw the photos of the team, and your coach, just the joy, you guys were feeling. So it had to be very rewarding, all that hard work you put in, to come away with that trophy. And then congratulations on your graduation and, your future plans. And thanks for all that you've done for Brevard College and the athletic program over your years here. And, like you said, getting those fans going when, things might have looked cloudy out there. So appreciate you again coming on the show, ladies. Best of luck moving forward. And we'll certainly be following your careers down the line.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. All right. Competitive cheer and dance student athletes Casey Robinson, Emily Robinson, and Olivia Brock. Great to have them on the program after a big second place finish this past weekend at the Limestone College Collegiate Competition. Do want to thank all of our guests who joined us this evening for Tornado Talk. We had head men's golf coach Chris Fry and men's golfer Austin Fisher on the show. We heard from head climbing coach Travis Gray and student athlete Nathan Boppel. They're getting ready for that regional championships this coming weekend in Nashville. We heard from Jason Marquardt and Scott McGill. These two cycling student athletes had huge weekends in Clemson for a road racing competition. Great to hear from them. We heard from football assistant coach and the man in charge of the linebackers for the Brevard College Tornadoes, Coach Randy Finley, also known as Coach Gunny, United States Marine Corps Gunnery Sergeant Randy Finley. And last but not least, we heard from competitive cheer and dance student athletes Casey Robinson, Emily Robinson, and Olivia Brock. Do want to thank our sponsors, Arby's, Zaxby's, Holiday Inn Express, Hampton Inn, Ingalls, Mission Sports Medicine, Comporium Pepsi, and the home of Tornado Talk, Dugan's Pub. Hope to see you later this week at a home Brevard College Tornadoes athletic event. Tomorrow, men's and women's tennis at the McCoy Tennis Complex. They'll be taking on Johnson University out of Tennessee. That'll begin at 1:30 p.m. If you're not able to join us at the McCoy Tennis Complex in person, that match will also be broadcast live on the Brevard College Tornado Athletics YouTube channel with a bunch of interviews as well. So hope you can join us either in person or tune into the broadcast. Wednesday, softball doubleheader 2 and 4 p.m. versus Converse at Ives Lamel Family Field. And then Saturday, a full day of activity at Brevard College, beginning with men's and women's tennis. The women take on Agnes Scott at 11:30 a.m. Men's tennis takes on Huntington at 11:30 a.m. at the McCoy Tennis Complex. Softball is a doubleheader versus Covenant, which begins at 1 p.m. at Ives Lamel Family Field. Baseball will be hosting Greensboro at 3 p.m. at Gil Cohen Field. And then the busy Saturday on the Brevard College campus concludes with men's lacrosse versus Greensboro at 6 p.m. at Islamel Family Field. If you're able to get out to Brevard College on Sunday, there's a baseball doubleheader scheduled to begin at noon versus Greensboro. Be sure to visit the official athletics website, bctornadoes.com, and follow the Tornadoes on Twitter and Instagram at bctornadoes. Be sure to like the Brevard College Athletics Facebook page. Also, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube and SoundCloud channels. Thanks for all who made tonight's program possible. We'll see you next week right here at Dugan's Pub. Go Tornadoes.